All right. Happy New Year. And welcome to the January 6th, 2022 meeting of the Rotary Club of Milledgeville. We'll call Eric Walters up if he to be our Rotarian of the day, lead us in the prayer pledge and the four-way test.
Okay. Lord, we are grateful for the food that we have before us, the fellowship around us, the community that we're within. And I'd like to send out blessings to all those who are not able to be with us here today. Amen. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the four-way test. First,
is it the truth?
Second,
is it fair to all concerned?
Third,
will it build goodwill and better friendships?
And fourth,
will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is it fun? All right, thank you, Eric. As you're being seated, please remember to put some money in our cart fund bucket. 3 weeks ago, our last meeting, we had $7 in the cart fund. Can I get 3 people to match that? Greg, Jeff, and Jimmy. So we got Greg, Tyson, Jeff Gray, and Jimmy Eubanks. Okay. All right. Thank y'all. Thank you very much. Dr. Price, you want to give us an update on our Christmas gift drive that we had?
Yes. First of all, thank you everyone who contributed to getting gifts for 12 children. And so they had a Christmas because of your donations, and we really appreciate it. They were very excited and very appreciative that we were able to support them. So I thank you, and we just continue to give back. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Right. All right, Jennifer, I believe you have a.
I'm trying to get the last of my pie in before I have to stand up. Sorry. Okay, Rotary raffle. We're this close. We started late this year, but it didn't matter. You guys went gangbusters, and it was awesome. And I think we all owe a big round of applause to Milledgeville. He definitely took it and ran with it this year. So a lot of the success is all thanks to Nick. I am actually going to turn it to our master salesman, Wendell. We have about 8 tickets left to go. Hope you guys will help us get rid of those today. And a few more at Nick's office if you're feeling really motivated.
Need some positivity today,
Yep.
all right? I'm actually digging a little deeper today. And I did this a couple years ago, and now I get an extra one every year. So just understand, we'll stay with me for a little bit, all right? All right, man, I got, I feel like I'm at the final 4. Who needs 2? Who needs 2? Who needs 2? All right, man. How about $50? Who can give me 1? I got number 202. I got about 10 left here. Can anybody tell me something positive and throw 50 my way? How about it? Anybody? Anybody good for this today? Somebody step up and do it. Somebody step up and do it for me first. All right?
Wendell, I'll take 3.
All right. Tom got 3. All right, man. I appreciate you, Tom. Thank you very much. Thanks, sir. Thanks, sir. All right, I got about 7 or 8 left. Who we got? Oh, man, that's awesome. Thank you. Keep going. All right, I got now I do have about 7 left now, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 7 left. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate 2 more. Thanks, sir. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right. Now I got 5 left. I can count on them as always. I ain't doing it. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. I got 4 left. Got 1 here. I got 3 left. No, I didn't do that. 4 left. 4 left. Thank you. And hey, so you get next time we do deposit stuff, you get 1 for free. Okay. I got 3 left. Who got anybody? Anybody? All right. All right. 1 left. Good. I appreciate it, man. All right. Not so much. I appreciate it.
Everybody, let's give Wendell a big round of applause.
I appreciate it. We got
That's exactly it.
we got a great place. I'm telling you, man, we got a great community. I appreciate living here. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
All.
Wendy.
Good job.
William, have we got anyone on the prayer list?
Yeah, we need to remember Randy Stewart, he's had some health concerns, and so let's keep him in our prayers. And then, Scott Brown is, doing very well after surgery, so he's in very good spirits right now. So,
Is he gonna be coming back? You know?
Hey, I called to Ed Hall. His home line was disconnected, so he just uses his cell now. So we've been trying to get in touch with him for a while. I talked to his son, and he's still recovering from that September. He has fluid on his heart. He's kind of immobile, so he's staying home, but he's great. He's sharp. And call him if you want history. If you want to hear history. He just talk and talk and talk, and I told him I've got to go, but I'm gonna call you back. But he's doing good. He's just a little emotional, so he's in the club.
Awesome. Thank you, Laura. All right. Any other announcements? All right. Well, Aaron's out today, so I will kind of get us going with our speakers today. So we're doing classification talk. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. See, that's what happens when I take 2 weeks off. I forget how to do everything. So we have $466.
Big pot, big pot. We got 33 cards, so it's whittling down. We have a guest today, Crystal. I'll let you introduce your guest.
I have Braden Walden with me today. Feel sorry for him. He's been sitting with me all morning. He's been shadowing me at work. So he is a senior at the John Millage, and so he has been going around the community and sitting with people in the business field. So he sat with a real estate agent and also someone at exchange thing. So welcome him today.
Draw winning tickets. If you would, just draw a ticket, hand it to me. Thank you, sir. The winning number ending in 669. 669. Nobody? Oh. Ending in 669. Great.
Sorry, it was in my pocket. You don't have to check it.
Now this is. This is not the $600 million that a couple of guys just won, but six of spades. Thank you. Boy.
All right. Thank you, Greg. Sorry to forget about you there. Now on to our program. For those of you who are new to Rotary, as new members come in, we have them do a classification talk, which really is a lot about yourself. It helps everybody in the club get to know you, talking about what brought you to Rotary. This year, we're switching it up a little bit. So we're still having our new Rotarians do this, but we're also asking some of our existing Rotarians. We've got Rotarians who have been here since before, Paul Dean before the beginning of the time, but it's nice to have some of the people who have been here talk a little bit about themselves too. And with that, our Link Boyer was going to be one of the ones talking, but Link had some other duties, so he wasn't able to make it today. So our first one up is Miss Terry Kennedy, who's been here for a little while with us too.
Well, I didn't win the Powerball, but I won the generator. Did y'all see that? I actually got a text from a coworker and made some comment about, congratulations, and John needs to make sure he's, ready to lift something. I'm thinking, what did I win? I mean, I had no idea. So I won the generator. I live in a condo. I don't need a generator, but I will figure out a way to use the generator. So anyway. So when I was asked to do this, actually I was asked before and I couldn't make it that day. So when I was asked again, I was thinking about this, I've never done this. So when I joined Rotary, whatever happened, my name wasn't called. I certainly didn't volunteer. And so it was like, what do I do? But anyway, so I'm going to talk about myself, which is uncomfortable for me. I do a lot in the community, and I certainly have a servant heart to help others, but it's hard for me to talk about myself. Because sometimes you feel very uninteresting. Like you think about, what am I going to tell these folks that, I mean, so what? So what about her? And then I realized we all have a story. So whatever the story is, it doesn't matter. So this is my story. It all began, and I did this in an article years ago. My life, years ago, I began my journey when I was 13. I got a job in a bagel shop in New York, and I'll get back to why I was in New York. But I always said that everything I learned in life, I learned at that bagel shop. And I say that to say I was 13 years old, way before labor laws were enacted. How I got that job, I walked in and it was like, come over here by the register and get started. And from that, and I went to work every Saturday and Sunday. My dad, looking back, he got up every Saturday and Sunday. I had to be at the bagel shop at 6 o'clock because, you know, bagel shops are early. And I was there, and that was my job all through high school. And I did it every Saturday and Sunday. And why I say I learned so much about life and is because I learned how to deal with good people, and I learned how to deal with not so good people. I learned how to deal with nice people and really mean people. I learned how to deal with disabled people. So many walks of life in that 5 years period of time that I had no idea how formative that was for me, because it helped me through life later on, but had no idea. So I began in the bagel store. But I'll tell you, I was born in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and I was born on Christmas Day in 1958 in St. Joseph's Hospital. So can you imagine, okay, the look on my dad's face when my mom said it's time? Because here it is, the wee hours of Christmas morning. There's 3 other kids, step stairs, 5, 4, and 3. St. Joseph's Catholic family, you get it? 5, 4, 3. And she's going, he has to take her to the hospital, but he's got to figure out, what do I do with Christmas for these children? So in Pennsylvania, we lived kind of in a row house situation. So there was a very close family. So the neighbor next door, you know, came, and my dad took my mom to the hospital, and there's 3 children waiting for Santa to come. And so I can only imagine my dad's, I always think it's like the Lucy and Desi scenario, like he's forgot her and left the bag or whatever. So, but anyway, it was just kind of interesting. People always say to me, every time I go and I show my license, you know, I get the response is always, oh, you know, you're born on Christmas Day, and, you know, is that good or whatever? And so the bottom line is yes, it's very good. It is very good. The only thing you don't want to do is, please don't give me a birthday gift in Christmas paper. That really upsets me. And my husband learned that one time. One time. So, but with all that said, you know, again, I spent my formative years in Pennsylvania. Most of all of my family, my extended family is still there. But I have very fond memories of my childhood. My dad worked in laboratory sales, and he transferred to Long Island. So that's why we got to New York. But my grandparents lived in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That was a lot of fun to be in Hershey. My grandfather actually worked for Milton Hershey, which is, you know, when he was alive, it was quite a story to listen to him. Quite an honor to work for the founder of that company. My grandfather on my dad's side was a physician, and it was back in the day when they did house calls. And he was well known and throughout that community. As a matter of fact, as a kid, we used to go to their house, which his practice was in the main floor. Of course, there was other quarters, if you will, but he made house calls. He was a traditional doctor that made house calls, and he made house calls at our house too. So a lot of fond memories there. And it's funny, I thought about writing these notes. Why do you have to write notes about your life? Well, because I don't want to get too sidetracked. So in New York, I graduated from Walt Whitman High School. And at that time, college, and it sounds kind of weird, college for women, but that wasn't a push for me at that time in my life. Secretarial school was. Secretaries back then, and unfortunately there are not too many now, were invaluable. And so I went on to Berkeley Claremont Secretarial School, and I graduated with a 4.0 GPA. And because of that, a lot of the New York City firms were always looking at these schools. And so I was offered a job, you know, sight unseen, to go into New York City. I was very young, I was very naive, but I was ready to conquer the world. Sometimes I remember feeling like I was Mary Tyler Moore coming out with a hat out of the subway. I loved commuting to New York City, absolutely loved New York City. And I say today, if I was filthy rich and had all the money in the world, I'd be living in Fifth Avenue right now. I'd have a limo out front and an airplane, but that's where I would be. So that's not going to happen, but I certainly had a wonderful, you know, 2 years in New York City, and I loved it. During that time, I met my husband, John. John was working at Grumman Aerospace on Long Island, of course, was the premier, manufacturing firm there. I'm sad to say it's not anymore. But we got married in 1980, and John was offered a job to come to Milledgeville. Well, who knew what Milledgeville was? My dad was looking it up, and he just was like, whoo, he was like, where are you going? So, but again, John and I were young and naive, and we were ready to conquer the world together. So we came down here, and the rest was history. We relocated in 1981. John continued his career in tool operations at Grumman. He retired there after 38 years. And back in the day, I did apply, and I got a job working there. It's funny, when I came down, and I hope I'm not going too long, when I came down, living was so inexpensive here. So I thought I could be a stay-at-home wife at 21, but I ended up going to work, and I worked out there 17 years. And it was a wonderful career out there. I actually worked as the executive secretary for several of the general managers and several people like Paul Dean and lots of other, Merritt Massey. I met these folks during that time frame when I was working for some of the top executives at Grumman, and so our relationship continues on. I was in a very influential seat, and that's why I say, if you're working with an admin assistant, like Dr. Price has an amazing admin assistant, their value is incredible. So don't look at that as, I used to get really crazy with their justice secretary. I'm like, no, they're running this joint. So, and it's true. It's really true. So I love my job. But during that time, things had changed, and Grumman was starting to go through the buyouts and mergers, and things changed as they've changed today. It was losing its luster for me. So I was starting to kind of have that itch. But at the time, Brad Surf, as you all know, Brad was not a former, he's a Rotarian, but Brad, I got to know him through United Way. I was actually a loaned executive for United Way, and that opened the door for me in many, many ways. And so I actually was offered a job, went on to United Way, took a huge cut in pay. It was the right decision at the time to kind of go backwards to go forward. My children were little, our family was young, and so I diverted and kind of did that for the best reason ever. But then Brad was my campaign chair for the United Way. And then Brad called me and said, let's talk. And so, you just never turn those opportunities down to have a conversation. And so Brad offered me a job at Exchange Bank, and that's where I've been. Today is actually my 19th anniversary at Exchange Bank. I'm very proud of that, because I never thought I would be in banking. I mean, like, when we look at our paths. So I'm the Senior Vice President for Human Resources and Business Development. And I've been a member of the senior management team for at least 8 years now. So, and I have no immediate plans to retire, so I'm heading that direction, obviously, but I have no immediate plans. So as I said, John and I are married now at 42 years. I'm very proud of that. We have 2 daughters, Jessica and Lauren, who are both graduated from Baldwin High School, did very well. And Jessica went on to earn 2 master's degrees. I'm so proud of her, because both of my girls went on to are going to school later in life, and they just didn't give up. They had some hardships along the way, but so Jessica has 2 master's degrees and is currently working as an enrollment coordinator at Wesleyan College. And Lauren is pursuing her degree in business, and she worked for Keith at Union Reporter for a couple of years. She was real young then too, and is now working for Andy Coward at State Farm, but she's going on for her education, so I'm proud of that. We have 4 grandchildren. Cameron, 17. I'll probably get emotional because they make me so proud. Cameron, 17. Colby's 14. Caden is 13, and Ken is 6. I'm very proud. So anyway, in my spare time, I love to play tennis. I would love one day to meet my tennis idol, Chrissy Everett, and that goes back to that time period. I really would. I mean, I would just love to just hit one ball and just slam it at me. Just, I just want to, she's amazing. So I also hope one day to sit at the finals of the US Open. So that's one of my bucket list items. If you have any pull, help me out. I did have a very dear friend of mine sent me a selfie picture of her sitting about 10 rows up center court at the US finals, and I wanted to cry. I was very jealous, but I was very happy for her, but I did get the hat. So she sent me the hat. So in closing about being Rotarian, it is an honor to be a Rotarian, and I never lose sight of that, to serve others throughout the community. And I will say that one of the things I want to really impart with is it's important for us when we're asked to serve others, whatever it is, to say yes, because there's no reason why anybody in this room shouldn't say yes. there's a reason why you were asked to serve, because you all have a talent of some sort. There's something that someone asked you to be on a board or a committee or to help with a Christmas project. Somebody asked you, so you've got to look at it differently and say yes. I could sit here, I started to list the organizations that I've been involved with, and that would bore you to death. Who cares? The bottom line is when I was asked, I said yes. And I kept saying yes, and it changed my life. So with all that said, the last thing is I actually received the Rotary Four-Way Test Award before I was a Rotarian. It was Arthur Gunn and Brad Surf and a committee that gave me that award. And I was blown away. To this day, I still am blown away with it. But I realized that the reason why I got that award is because I said yes. My parents taught me incredible work ethic. And I was able to live the four-way test. And I was living it all along. I just didn't know it. So anyway, that's my story. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, we have another longtime Rotarian, Mr. William Black, going to come up and talk.
Well, when Aaron asked me to do this, I didn't want to do it, but Keith, he kept calling me and begging me to get up and give my story because he loves hearing it so much. So
I'm really interested.
after that, I said, I'll do it. So I'll fight for it. So here I am. So last time I did this, I just started my career. I was 20 something years old. You know, I got up. I didn't really have a whole lot to say about myself. Hadn't accomplished a lot. Didn't have any accolades, no awards. And here I am at 51 years old, and not much changed. You know, back then it's funny, you're looking through those eyes, and I was ready to conquer the world. And today I'm looking through those eyes, and I'm just ready to survive. Is all I'm trying to do. I grew up in Putnam County. My parents were not highly educated. They were, in other words, they were dirt poor. My mom's was a sharecropper. Her whole family was, which, you know, if you don't know what that is, that's where you go out and pick cotton for a living. Didn't make a lot of money, but they persevered, and they actually always worked blue collar jobs. And but they found a way to take care of us, done well for themselves over the years. Actually paid for my sister and my college education. We didn't have any debt. They were able to pay for that. And it's funny because with my kids, I'm like, you know, you got to go to college. You know, you need to go to college. And my parents were like, I don't know, if you want to go, and, you know, I'll pay for it, but I don't care. You know, they're just like, I don't really care. Just don't be in my hair, right? So went to college here, and they were actually paid for it. And they taught me three things, my parents did, that really drive me today. First one is to trust God in all you do and always follow Him. Second is to work hard. And third is don't spend more than you make. They were big on that. You know, don't be out spending more money than you make. So in my career and what I do, I kind of take that principle when helping clients, you know. So that was my parents, that was my upbringing. I was raised in Putnam County. I lived there, but I can't go in town because of the law. When I was in school, I have been stopped by the police more than you can imagine for driving fast and driving crazy. And I'd be arrested today. But the chief of police was a friend. He grew up in my neighborhood. And so the last time I got stopped, they actually took me downtown. And he said, if you come in here one more time, I'm throwing the book at you. So I was like, he seemed pretty serious about it. So I didn't get stopped anything like that. And I can remember though, I got out and I was in college, and I was going into town, my now wife and we were finna go to Six Flags, but I had to run town for something, and I got stopped by the state trooper. And I'm sitting on the side of the road, and the state trooper's behind me, and I see the chief of police pull up behind the state trooper. And it'd been a long time since I got stopped, so I had been rehabilitated at that point. He said, I looked at her and I go, you may have to drive the car home because I think I'm finna go to jail, you know. So he comes back up there and he goes, you think if you slow it down, you know, if I, can you slow it down if I let you go? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. So that allowed me a time. I'll be glad to slow down for you. So I got out of that. So as far as my career goes, I graduated. I went to Georgia College State University here, graduated with econ major, finance minor, and went right to work after that. And I've spent 30 years in the financial services business. I started my own practice in 2008. My time was impeccable. I started a financial practice, advising people on how to manage their money and invest their money. And then the market crashed in 08. So when people come in, I was like, well, you're not coming to me for my time and ability because I started this business right now, everything. So what do you want me to do for you? So it turned out to be a great time in my career. My practice has been very successful. As a matter of fact, a year ago, Century Bank approached me, and I have the honor of being able to help them manage their financial services program there and work with clients, which oddly enough, that's where I started my career, was at Century. So I'm back there. So again, I'm just kind of running in circles in my life, not really getting anywhere, same place, right? So, but yeah, I've enjoyed my career at this point. My family, I did marry my high school sweetheart. We've been married for 29 years, and I was smart enough to know then I didn't have a lot going for me. So when I finally found a girlfriend, I made her fall in love with me really, really quick before she realized I wasn't really going anywhere, right? So she did, it worked, and so we've been married for 29 years. She actually is a graduate of Georgia College State University. She's in the education field, been there for 30 years this year. She's real excited because if you know anything about education, when you reach 30 years, you can retire with TRS. So she was really excited about that until I told her she couldn't retire. And so she, true story, we were riding down the road one day and she was like, what's your big issue with me retiring? I'm like, I didn't tell her she couldn't retire. I mean, I'm like, this is your decision, because she told me that I had no input in it. So. But then she comes up with this question like, why can't I retire? What big issue do you have in retiring? And I knew better than to answer that. And I go, I don't have a big issue retiring. I was like, what are you going to do though? You're only 51, so she's still working. We have 2 kids. Have a daughter who is just, I think she graduated, or I think she finished GMC with her associate's degree. And I think she's going to go to Georgia College in the education program, I'm hoping. And I say all this because I don't know, because I'll tell you everything. And she's a great kid. My daughter is a very good person, but she hates school. So I hate all you people that talk about, my kid got a doctorate and is a physician and all this stuff. I hate y'all, Every time y'all get up, y'all look at me because I'm gonna be going like, so. But she's a great kid, and she's a hard worker, and she just doesn't like school, and she's getting through it. And I will consider my greatest accomplishment in life, no matter what I've done, is to get my daughter out of school and get her a job in what she went to go to school for. Because she's carefree. She's just really carefree. She goes through life. I wish I was like her, and don't stress over anything, right? And I have a son who is a junior at GMC, and God's got a sense of humor because he's polar opposite. He's driven, straight A's, autopilot, right? But he's convinced he's going to play. He loves to play baseball. He's convinced he's going to play baseball in college. He's working real hard toward that goal. If only I knew somebody who was, in the athletic program at, say, a local college or something, could maybe put his name in and talk to the baseball coach there and help him out. Be a great benefit. As a fellow Rotarian, I'm just saying. But yeah, so he's a great kid, great student, works really hard at everything he does. Real proud of him, proud of both of my kids, and just really been blessed. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And Eric, you get to follow that, man. I'm sorry.
I know. It's rough. Both are very hard to follow, and the worst part is we've had this big long break over the holidays, So like, I can't remember, I was trying to remember, what do people talk about on these things? For people who don't know, I'm Eric Walter, and you may or may not be aware, I work for Apple Computer. It's a little tiny computer company you may have heard of out in California. My office is actually in Cupertino, California, which is kind of weird. I mean, I've been working with computers. My dad was an adjunct faculty working at Palm Beach Junior College back when it was junior college and not Palm Beach State College. And they gave him computers because he was teaching them. And I was the kid, I got to play with them constantly, and I loved computers from the very beginning. In college, though, I was involved with something called the Order of the Arrow, which is part of the Boy Scouts. I don't know if anybody's heard of it or not, but it's the honor society. It's dedicated to service, by the way. And we'll come back to that. But anyway, so during the college years, because I knew how to type, because that's what you learn when you play with computers all the time, I became really involved with the newsletter and the mailings. And that was back in the day when I don't know if anybody remembers cutting things out and pasting and typing things up on my friend's IBM Selectric typewriter back when we had typewriters. But somewhere along the way, I discovered Apple's Macintosh computers and how that was, I don't know if anybody remembers the desktop publishing revolution when, went from cutting and pasting to like doing it all on a screen. And I fell in love with that. And so even though I was studying computer science, I ended up coming out of college and starting to work as a graphic artist because at that time, graphic artists didn't know anything about computers. And I knew about computers, even though I was a horrible graphic artist. So it really kind of worked well for me. And it got me to the point, I ended up moving to Miami, and I eventually became an art director for a little tiny newspaper. I don't know if you've ever seen the free flyers that advertise with like sort of news stories interspersed. Well, I was the art director for one of these newspapers. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. I learned a lot. Along the way, though, I found that I was more and more writing programs to sort of help with the graphic design stuff, and at the same time, real graphic designers were starting to say, oh, this computer thing actually might be around for a while. So I actually transitioned over and took a job as a programmer, moved to Boston, which is, by the way, a big change from South Florida to Boston. Anyway, so I worked in Boston for a little while. That company got bought by another company, which is another thing I don't know if people are aware, but like in the computer industry, you're constantly getting bought by another company. So don't get used to the company you work for. But anyway, so I ended up moving to San Diego, which is where I really wanted to be anyways. So I always joke that like I moved to San Diego through Boston. But anyways, worked in San Diego for a while. Some friends of mine, one of them was like the founder of the other company I'd worked for, went off to do a startup, and I went with them. And we did electronic books. This is before the Kindle, before the iPad. I should have brought actually one of the ebooks that we have. I still have one. It doesn't power up because the battery's dead, but I still have one. But anyways, we were licensing software from Apple for the operating system. This is back when Apple was gonna license operating systems. And so it was really great because I got to work on like a standalone brand new thing at a startup and work with Apple software, which I was also very fond of. So anyways, I did that. That actually got bought by, I don't know if anybody remembers, do you remember VCR Plus? It was a thing that was in TV Guide and VCR Plus. Anyways, that company bought us. And then I left and did a bunch of startups. Along the way, one of those startups got bought by another little tiny company called Google. You may have heard of them. So Google relocated us to by then I had met my lovely wife, Carla. And they relocated us to San Francisco, the Bay Area. And so I was working for Google there. I was writing, I don't know how many people have used Google Playbooks, but because I was doing the ebook stuff, I ended up doing Google Playbooks, their iOS iPad client, which was it was very cool. I went from like, having, maybe 300 or 400 people using my software to tens of thousands of people using my software. And it was very cool. And when I said Google Playbooks, people are like, I think I've heard of that. About the same time, I decided that it might be nice to it's kind of weird to work at Google on an iOS because Apple and Google are sort of head to head, and sometimes it's a very strange thing because Google, I don't know, many people know this, but Google is actually one of the largest iOS developers out there because they have, all kinds of applications that and Apple licenses or no, sorry, it's the other way around. Google pays Apple to use Google as the default search engine, a whole bunch of other things. So within Google, there's a very dysfunctional Apple development group, and they have like internal conferences and things like that. But I decided that I wanted to go work for Apple. And so it turns out if you apply for a job at Apple, it's not too bad to actually get a job at Apple. So the Apple Maps group hired me. And a lot of people think going from ebooks to maps is a big change, but actually it's a very, very similar because you have like this big database of lots and lots of stuff. In one case, it's books. In Maps case, it's, you know, cartography information. And then you're creating something that you basically can show it to everybody. Anyways, sorry. Okay. Yeah, and then we went through a couple different things that we went through. Coming through there, we started off by doing. Let's see, we started off by just doing a small. I'm trying to think of what the name for it, but anyway, so a small little gathering of. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Oh, thank you. That helps. Sorry. Oh, right. Sorry. So one of the things I wanted to sort of talk about was like what brought me sort of to Rotary. So even before we left California, I was actually trying to get back involved with the Boy Scouts. I've been really involved with the Boy Scouts since my high school days. And so I was trying to get connected with the Boy Scouts again. This is back in California in the Bay Area. And it's funny because like I couldn't find anybody, and my wife was at she ended up going to the San Francisco, the #2 Rotary Club in the United States, second only to Chicago, right? I think Chicago's #1. Anyway, so she was at the #2 meeting, and she's like, "Oh yeah, there's somebody there you might know, blah blah blah," and she introduces me to this guy Frank, who turns out to be the #2 Scout executive in all of the San Francisco area. So I go to this meeting, to the San Francisco #2 meeting, and meet Frank. And turns out she manages to get me involved with the Boy Scouts in the Bay Area through her through the Rotary connection, which I think is hysterical. So anyway, so I get involved with Rotary Club #2. We have a great time, and there were some great times. We did like bike. They do a program where they give away bikes to kids who need them, and basically they come in. You come in and assemble the bikes as part of the, like Saturday morning you assemble the bikes, and then in the afternoon they give the bikes to the kids, and that was a lot of fun. We did like caroling. They have like a caroling tour on for the Christmas holidays. A whole bunch of things like that, hiking and lots of other sort of events. So we did all that stuff and I got involved with Rotary Club #2, which was great. And then we moved here. Basically, my team is spread across the world, everywhere from Copenhagen to Mississippi to wherever. And so we were like, you know what, we can actually move to Georgia because Carla wants to be involved here. And so we moved here, and same thing, I was trying to get involved with the Boy Scouts here, find the team, find the folks to get involved. And the next thing I know, Carla says, you know, the next week, the district executive for the Scout Council is going to be speaking at Rotary. So I came to Rotary, and sure enough, I met him and got involved with that. And the thing that I find that's really very interesting is that Rotary and Scouting have a lot of sort of connectivity, and I don't know how many people here are involved in Scouting or know anything about Scouting, but there's a lot of stuff. And I hear, like, even today, somebody was talking about service, and that's sort of through the Order of the Arrow. That's one of their mottos is a service organization and honor and service and so on. So there's a lot of connection linkages there. So yeah, I always joke about like Rotary being sort of the adult version of the Scouting organization, because it allows us to do a lot of the similar things that I was doing through Scouting. So anyway, so I'm very involved now with the Scouting troops here, and it's only been a year, but I've managed to get involved there and so on like that. So it's really great. And after Carla got me involved with Rotary, I started coming and getting involved with that. Let's see, and basically, we were sitting around, and Hayward, sorry, is where we live back in the Bay Area, San Francisco, California. I was working from home. There was no real sign of like going back to the office anytime soon. All the people that I work with are like outside of the Bay Area anyways. And we were like, you know what? We can go live. Carla was going to be working at Georgia College State University. And I was like, we could go live in Milledgeville. And we went and we came and we looked and said, you know what? A month later, we were shopping for a house. And so about a year ago, it's been a little bit longer, a little bit less than a year, we ended up moving here to Milledgeville. So, and you guys have been very warm and welcoming, and it's just been a lot of fun. So I just want to say I appreciate it so much.
All right, we got one last person. We'll let Jay Butcher come up and tell us his story.
So I'm Jay Wiltshire, as many of you may know. Been married 37 years to my best friend, my wife Susan. We have 4 children, 8 grandchildren, and one great grandchild. We also have 2 collies and a dock full of catfish that we overfeed just about every day. Just a real quick story about how I met my wife. I was a high school band director for a lot of years, and Susan was my majorette sponsor. And so she came to me one day and she said, I've got a majorette problem. And I said, that's redundant. So I said, let's talk about it. And we developed a friendship and a lifelong love affair. We're very happy together. While I was in college, I joined the National Guard in Mississippi. I went to Southern Miss and got a bachelor's and a master's degree. And then served in the Mississippi National Guard and Georgia National Guard for a total of 6 years. Began my career as a band director and orchestra director in grades 4 through 12 in the little town of Hapeville, Georgia. Then moved on to College Park, directed bands for 16 years, and then moved into the position of coordinator of music education for Fulton County. Actually was in Fulton County for 32 years until I retired and held several positions. I was the band director, department chair, executive director of curriculum, director of the Employees Charitable Fund. We had teaching museums in Fulton County and magnet programs, and I sort of ran all of them. I chaired the Spivey Hall Education Committee for about 25 years. It opened in 1991, and just although it doesn't function anymore, the programs still go on. Anyway, after 32 years, I retired from Fulton County and at various times worked for Georgia State, Clayton State, Silver Redemption Book Company, just had a lot of different types of jobs. About mid-90s, when I was in Fulton County, I think at the time I was serving as director of curriculum, I met Dr. Price, and we, even back then, developed what I consider to be a lifelong friendship. And so when I retired, she had by then moved on to Clark County and called and asked if I could help her out because her fine arts program was a mess. And I agreed, yes, it is. So I came in and did an audit. And during that time, we did some really good things. I stayed in Clark County for a couple more years when she moved to Baldwin. And then she said, can you help us here too? And it was just as big a mess, believe me. And so I did an audit. And I think the biggest difference between Baldwin and Clark is that the school board in Baldwin would listen to you. The one in Clark heard you, but they didn't really listen. And so working with this school board and of course this superintendent and the great staff of teachers that we've got is just it's a dream to be able to work in the setting that I'm currently in. So in addition to working in Baldwin, I'll be working at the college, actually starting Monday. I'll be teaching a music education class and directing the wind ensemble while the current director is out at sabbatical. Professionally, I'm a member of the Georgia Music Educators and have been for, this is my 49th year. I serve as a state ethics chair and also the retired members chair. I think the thing that I enjoy most about working in Baldwin is seeing the growth and where people just continue to say yes. When I came to Baldwin, we had 11 fine arts teachers. Now we have 22 full-time teachers. And then we also work with interns in the areas of violin, Suzuki violin, strings, and then also with dance and with band with Georgia College. And it's just a wonderful reciprocity that we have. It's just everybody works together, and it's just fun to watch the whole program unfold. We have dance K through 12 in the school system, visual arts K through 12. Theater actually starts in K through 12, and then also we start our general music classes in kindergarten, but then we have band actually starting in 3rd grade. So there's probably not as comprehensive a fine arts program anywhere that I know of, regardless of the size of the system. And one nice example of that, I would think, is that this is the 7th year that we've applied, and we've made it the past 6 as one of the 100 best, well, actually now it's one of the best communities for music education in America, and that's not easy to get. So we're very proud of that. Personal accomplishments, 1995, I was named Georgia Music Educator of the Year, 2002, the National Advocate for Music Therapy, and then recently in 2020, I received the Distinguished Career Music Education Award, or Distinguished Career Music Education Award. So those are the few of the things that that I'm about. But now, when I think about my role in Rotary, when I came to Milledgeville, I was asked to join Rotary, Allied Arts, and the Baldwin County Foundation for Excellence. And those 3 things all have the same things in common. It's about others, not yourself. And that's what I enjoy most about all 3 organizations. And I really think about Rotary itself, just in listening to meetings, listening to the type of character that the people in this organization have. Rotary does things because it wants to, not because it has to. So delighted to be working with you, and look forward to continuing. Thanks.
Aren't those awesome? There's William, but. What's that?
Yeah, if you bought a ticket today, bring me the stuff.
Okay. All right, with that,
Can these tickets be billed?
I can bill them. I got Venmo or cash, whatever works for you.
so work with Greg to build them.
Yeah, we'll work on it.
Yep. All right, everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.